Hello and welcome to today's live stream. Just getting set up here. Eventually, I'm going to have a setup where I can get everything ready beforehand. It's getting closer, but for right now, this is how I've got to do it. So, I've got some foil to do the body. I've got my sculpting tools. I've got some Primo Ultramarine Blue. I've got some pre-baked eyes and a pre-baked fang I'm going to use for today's little creature. A general idea in my head of what I want to do. I'm going to start off with opening my clay and getting this soft. Bring my mic in a little bit. Hopefully it sounds okay. This broke it up in a little bit smaller, more manageable pieces. I'm not doing any mixing today, so I didn't pre-mix anything. Hopefully this doesn't take me too long to soften up. Seems pretty firm. It is down in my basement, so it's going to be a little cooler than it probably should be. So sometimes it takes me a little bit extra long to get it warmed up. Hello, Theo, and welcome, and thank you for coming in on the beginning. That first few minutes of me talking to myself always seems a little odd. I know other people will watch it later, but it's just kind of like, do I talk? Do I not talk? What do I say? So how are you doing today? I've had a pretty busy week. And this stuff is a little crumblier than I was hoping. Doing okay, playing Ace Attorney. Awesome. I've never played that game, but I've heard it's really good. Are you playing it on the DS? Or was there a copy on the Wii? I don't remember what all it came out for. I don't think there's a Switch version yet. 3DS. Awesome. I'm trying to soften this up as quickly as I can so I can get sculpting. When I get off work, it feels like I have plenty of time to get ready for the stream, and then I get sidetracked with other things, and then I'm like, it's starting in 10 minutes. Hello, Brandy. Thanks for popping on. I appreciate you letting me know. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You're talking about flinging it to the TV. You know, and when I make videos, some people will comment like, "Oh, that text is too big." But then if you watch it on the phone, it's really not. So you kind of have to take that into account. All the different possible devices that people could be watching your content on. I need to go through. I've got a lot of clay left that I've had for a while that just I've never gotten to. And I think this ultramarine blue is a little bit older, and I need to go through and use all that stuff up with kind of some random monsters or one-eye blobs, and then I want to restock with some fresh stuff. This older and a little bit colder stuff is definitely takes some effort to soften up. But if you saw the monster I made on last week's stream, I'm going to do something similar to that. Just kind of a simple, kind of more contained monster. I like doing these weekly streams, but I don't want them to go too long. I've got a fun project for my next edited video that'll be up on Monday, hopefully. We're just about there with the clay. All right, Theo, take care. Thank you for popping on. I appreciate it. I will leave the stream up after it's done if you want to check out to see what I made. All right. This is so close. I just want to condition it a little bit more. Pull some foil off and build up the body. See that a lot of that color transferred to my hands. That's why when you're switching colors, especially if you're going to a lighter color, you definitely want to wash your hands and keep those clean. Won't have any issues with this guy since he's going to be all one color. I am going to sculpt his head separate from the body. Last week's was body and head together, but I want to give this guy a little more of a tilt to his head. So I'll probably do a separate piece of foil for that. So I'm just stretching out my clay. I want it to be pretty even to go over the foil. Might need to get a little bit more here. See if I can kind of squish it around without going too thin. Oh, looks like that'll work. All right. Got our basic body shape. I'm going to go ahead, I'm doing them a little bit different order than some of mine. I'm going to go ahead and make him some feet and some arms. Trying to figure out how I want to do them. Pretty quiet right now, so I don't know if I need to find a better time to do the live streams. Last week's worked out pretty well. Hello, Delaney. How are you? Thanks for coming on. Just making a little blue monster. I am doing really good. Had a good day at work. Did a few things at home and did a little bit of work on my next video, or the project for the next video, and then got ready for the live stream. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this kind of little creature. So I've got little feetsies on him, and I want to come up with these little kind of hands. Don't want to have them sticking out too much, but just kind of give him something there. Wouldn't mind coming up with a new style of monster that was a little simpler, you know, something I could do quicker and do different versions of him. So I might experiment with some different things over the next few weeks on these streams and see what style I like. Fun about doing these monsters, there's no right or wrong. Although I feel this guy needs just a little more in the feet area, but what do we think so far? Good. Look at it, nothing really on the back. I'll probably add a tail to him. Get this softened up a little more, excuse me, and get a piece of foil for the head. And I said at the beginning I did have some pre-baked eyes here and a little fang that I'm going to use to add some details to his head, to add his facial features. Some more foil for the head. Don't have it make it, you know, solid clay. Just going to compact it down a little bit, smooth it out. Give him a little bit of a neck because I want him to have a little bit of a tilt to his head. And by doing a neck, I can angle it so it's easier to give that tilt instead of just taking the head and rolling it over a bit. So I'm just rolling this into a cylinder shape. I'm going to cut it at an angle. Might have cut too much off there. Let's give this another try. I don't want it to be totally flat on the one side. It's a little better. Now I'm just taking my ball tool, smoothing in the neck. Get it so it'll bond with that body. And I'm just using my fingertips to smooth it in some more. Get rid of some of those marks from the ball tool. So it's gotten a little thin here. So it's got some of the foil poking through. I'm going to get a drink real quick. So I think I will add, well, I know I'll add a little bit of clay back here. And maybe give him some bumps. Give him some texture that way. So I only need the one to cover up the foil. But I think it's kind of fun to add these little details. And by doing these bumps, you know, and I'm covering up that foil coming through, but it's like I took advantage of having to cover that up by adding this little characteristic to this guy. So he can have a lot of bumps on his back. Doing something like this, I don't necessarily want to make them all the same size. Just as if, you know, the animal kingdom is if they have spots, they're not all the same. So my monster's little bumps aren't going to all be the same. So let's go ahead and get this thinned out a little bit more to go over the foil. So I can start adding details to the head. And I do want to cover this completely, even though some of it's going to be covered up by that neck. But what I'm going to be able to do then is have it so it's easier for it to bond to that neck area. So smooth that out. Now I'm going to sculpt my face on here. Don't really know exactly how I want to do this. I like to do that underbite, and I might do that with the fang. So I've got that. These eyes were actually for a needle felt project, and I just had some left from a long time ago. Not for sure what I even made this pair for. I did some, what I call them Nefimo, so it's needle felt monsters, and I did the little baby ones. But those eyes were all glow in the dark. So I don't remember, and I might have just been making a bunch of stuff at once. I've had them, probably had these sculpted up for at least a couple years. So now I'm going to sculpt like a lower jaw area. And I might give this guy a nose. A lot of my monsters don't have noses, so I think this guy needs a nose. I think that would be fun to do. Yeah, I love doing the monsters with the glowy eyes. It's especially a lot of fun when you have a whole bunch of them lined up. And then you shut off the lights. And I'm just pretty much a big kid, so I enjoy glow in the dark. That's way too much. I'm going to be covering up his fang. Alright, let's see. First of all, that's farther over than what I want. Although I don't want it interfering with his eyeball. So I think I'll cut off a little cut off a little bit of this. So on these pre-baked pieces, it's really easy just using an X-Acto knife. It doesn't crack or anything. Just cut off that extra. If this was pointed on both ends, I would save that other part, but it was just like this little piece. I don't really have a use for it, so I'll go throw that away. And now I've got a little bit of a shorter tooth. And I just want to make sure it's covered up. Smooth in my lower jaw area. And like I do with a lot of my little monsters, I like to give them a little texture on their lips. Now something to keep in mind, where I don't have any kind of wire in this guy, and I've covered that foil completely, lots of times I'll just find a spot towards the back and poke a hole, so it'll let the air out when it bakes, because I think that'll expand, and that way you're not distorting your sculpt. And I'll do the same thing for the head when I'm done. But I want to add some ears. And then I think I'll add it, and then I'll add some more bumps. This little guy might not take very long. So I'm just going with kind of a diamond shape, but then I want to kind of bring them up. And then I'm cutting this in half for my 2 ears. And I'm going to take this rubber silicone tool. Going to smash that down. And do the same thing over here. Make it a little bit more of a point. I always think these are kind of gremlin or goblin ears. Hello, Toast. How are you? It's kind of a quiet little stream tonight. I'm just making a little blue monster. I had these pre-baked eyes and a little fang, so I'm just adding them to the monster I'm making. I just have some ultramarine blue by Primo, or it's Primo kind, by Sculpey. Yeah, Sonic's colors. All right, Theo. Hopefully I see you back soon. Said I don't think this guy will take too long to do, but all right. So gotta get a look at him. Just smooth in the edges a bit. Oh, if that's the case, I didn't catch it because, you know, I'm kind of slow. Yeah, I don't know if I like how that's sitting. It looks kind of goofy. I think I might trim down this neck so there's pretty non-existent. Should have gone with how I had it originally. There, now he's got a little bit of a slant. I think that'll stay on. So I'm going to take the needle tool and make an opening for like a little air hole in the back. Toast says Sonic was my childhood until the movie came and ruined it. I have not seen the movie. I know like the original version looked absolutely horrendous, but I didn't know with the fixes if it was better. But Sonic's one of those things where like the original games are so good and then he's kind of been hit and miss for years. We still have never watched the original live action Super Mario movie. Toast says the movie isn't bad, but I think it could have been so much better. Yeah, sometimes you wonder about their missteps because if so many critics and so many fans see it, why isn't there some more of a review board for these things? You know, and I'm a big fan of the Doom games, but like the Doom movie, and actually there's a new one on that I saw on Netflix, or I haven't watched it, but I saw that it was there. It was so, you know, such a misstep from the source material. And Doom doesn't have much of a story. It's not like they have to worry about that, but even changing major key elements about it, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I think the key to a good video game movie is you stay true to the source material to make the fans happy, and you create a good product, you know, for let's say, you know, a Sonic movie, you know, to have a good action movie, you know, or an action comedy. And they think changing the source material will make it more appealing, I think, to the casual fans. But I think the casual fans don't care. You know, if it's a good movie, they'll like it. Doesn't matter if it's true to the source material or not. And the hardcore ones are going to be, you know, happy if it stays true to the source material. So it just seems like a no-brainer. But yeah, like Detective Pikachu, that movie was incredible. And I'm not a hardcore Pokemon fan, but I know enough. So I tried to give this guy, or I am giving this guy some little toes. I don't know. I don't know if I like how his feet are, and these aren't sticking. Yeah, Detective Pikachu was like the right way, I think, to create video game characters to put them in a real world environment. Like they don't need to look photorealistic. I mean, you know they're Pokemon, you know they're not real, but yet they looked real, if that makes sense. I'm doing a wonderful job of getting these toes to stick. Come on, guy. So I've got them on there, and I want to take a small ball tool, and I'm just going to drag it across the bottom to blend them into my little foot part that's sticking out. Theo says, realistic enough that we got just without it taking away from the charm. Exactly. You know, it's like, it doesn't need to look as real as like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park because you're not, it's different. I mean, they're monsters. Toast says, I remember getting those bootleg games that had like 50,000 Sonic games on them, but there were like 20, but repeated, and not gonna lie, I loved it. Yeah, I think a lot of them had like game hacks, like, you know, different. I know like Streets of Rage has some, like you can play the Punisher, or there might be ones where you can start on different levels or have different, you know, like it's like Game Genie hacks where you have more lives or stuff like that. All right. So this won't be as hard because I can I can press them into the body and they're not sticking out. I can add little fingers here. I just thought he needed more detail. So I'm going to do 3 more on the other one. Might kind of have these crowded together. I almost think I need to bring this up. There. So they can overlap a little bit. Bring them up to the camera. And notice he's got a speck of something there. Just clean that off. Toast says the thing that I love the most about more modern Sonic games like 2005, not so modern, was the soundtrack. Like if you like jazz, you certainly should check out Sonic Unleashed soundtrack. Well, that's cool. Theo says I love his little hands. Thank you. You give him some more bumps. Oh, I was gonna do a nose on him. That's what I forgot. I don't know why I never. I shouldn't say never. I don't do that many noses on monsters. Toe says, any tips on how to keep your polymer clay clean? LOL, mine are like vacuums. What's your main issue, Toast? For me, like, I'll have some of this left, and I've got a container. Bring it up here. It's kind of a mess. But so I have this container, and I just put partial pieces in there. And you'll see this has different colors in there, but I mean, it still stays, it works. This is kind of a mix. You can just, separate it like that. But I always keep it in some kind of container. If I have a lot of, let's say, like a block of white or black, I keep them in a Ziploc bag by themselves. If I was going to add white to this guy that wasn't pre-baked, I'd make sure to wash my hands really well. If you're still getting some on there, you can take, let's say I did a white spot on here and I noticed I had a speck in it. You can take a Q-tip and put it in some rubbing alcohol and kind of just rub that spot away and it'll pick it up. So the main thing, and as far as keeping your work area clean, I use wax paper. Some people will use like a glass top that they can clean each time. And so you want to make sure your work area is really clean. But the other tip I'd have, and I don't know why this is the case, but if I need to use white, or it doesn't have to be white, lots of times I'll use pearl because pearl's pretty close to white, but it's shiny and it doesn't seem to pick up the little specks like white and yellow do. Those seem to be the two worst ones for me. Those are my tips off the top of my head. Thank you, Toast. I have a lot of fun doing these and coming up with just kind of, for lack of a better term, simpler sculpts, ones I can do, within an hour each time. Theo says, I've only used clays that I paint afterwards, but if I do use polymer clay, keep these tips in mind. Toast asks, what are we calling him? I don't know. Last week we called him the Monster Snaggle. I almost think I should have used a different color for these bumps. But I'm not going to redo that now. What do you know, Toast? Tell me. Share with me what you know. You know a name? Just tearing off some little pieces to do some smaller bumps, and then I'll go back to making the nose. I started sculpting it, and I think I just turned it into bumps. Whoa. And Toast does not know. Toast, that wasn't very helpful. Toast said maybe if we call him something so boring that it's funny. Like Craig or Carl. That's funny because a friend of mine, the guy that posts or that did the digital artwork for my mascot, he got one of my shell monsters and he calls it Carl. And it's very, just kind of like a, goofy little expression. So I think this guy can be Greg. I'm Greg. All right, so let's do a nose for Greg. Greg definitely needs a nose. Not trying to be mean to any of the Gregs out there, but I'm sure you all have noses, so you can't really disagree with that. Your nose might not be like this Greg's nose, but that's okay. Yeah, Greg is definitely a chill dude. He's like, it's a pandemic. It's okay. Yep, just vibing. Give him a nose to kind of like a Squidward nose. Greg the Goblin has a 9 to 5 job, but has a secret life on the weekends. Greg's one of those guys. Like, he seems so normal, but he's seen some stuff. Yeah, he's gotta get his McCafe. So I'm gonna add some texture to his nose. All right. There is Greg the Goblin. Definitely got a delay on my screen, so I'll make sure that he's in frame. Simple little sculpt tonight. Let's smooth that out a bit. All right. Thank you very much, Toast. Thank you, Theo. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and bake this guy, and while he's baking, I'm going to do some painting on my project for the edited video for Monday. So I'm really happy with how this other project's turning out. So hopefully you guys check out that video on Monday. So, all right, keeping it short, but it was a lot of fun. So thanks for coming on, and remember, never stop creating. Bye.